So this one's been a long time coming. Today we're finally doing it. We're breaking into this pile of parts right here and we're working on the Corvette. And today we're doing more than just plasti dip. We have got front lip, a couple of side skirts. I'm not sure which way they go. A spoiler that has a few parts. I'm also not sure exactly how this goes together. Something like that. And that. These rear diffuser fin things, these go underneath this back part here. We've also got a new grille. And this one I actually bought the other day because I figured if we're transforming the look of the Corvette, we should go all the way. So these are new clear taillights. So this Corvette is about as bone stock as you can get. It doesn't have any options other than the performance exhaust. It's just completely bare bones. And that means it doesn't have any of the side skirts or the front splitter or anything like that that some of the other models have. And it also has this terrible bumper that used to be chrome right here. So first thing I did whenever I bought this is I blacked out this, I blacked out the emblem, some other stuff. But over time, I've started to just continue to see this line here, and I don't really like it. So I decided it was time for a new grille. And if we're doing the grille, why don't we throw some other stuff on too? So we got the front lip there and the side skirts here. These are both from a really high quality, reputable company called Extreme Online Store. So this should just fit it perfectly. We've also got these rear diffuser things, spoiler. For a long time I was like, everyone has a spoiler on their Corvette. I don't need a spoiler, mine looks different, it's better. And over time I just kind of come to like the spoilers, so we're going with this spoiler here today. And if you've noticed, all of these parts here, with the exception of the front grille, are unpainted. So these are all just bare ABS plastic. So we're going to be painting these today to match the same black trim color that you see all over the Corvettes before we put them on. We need a paint called Carbon Flash Metallic Black, and that is the black trim that you see on Corvettes. It's black, but it has some little metallic bits in it that make it kind of sparkly. And so we want all of our AERO stuff to match that. And so one of the biggest questions we get whenever we paint cars is, where do you get your paint? So today we're telling you. There are places online like paintscratch.com that you can get pretty much any automotive color from, but that's online, they have to ship it to you, and I don't plan out my projects very well, so I want to paint this tomorrow, so I need to get some paint today. The first time I was looking for paint, I went to a local paint and body shop because, well, they do body work and they obviously have paint, right? It's in the name, paint and body. No, turns out they get their paint from somewhere else. So they were kind enough to tell me where they got it from, and I went there. So you can do something similar, call up a paint and body shop, ask them where they get their paint from, or you can just go on to Google or something like that and search for automotive paint supply near you, see what comes up. But if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you can go to this place right here. A random, unassuming strip mall. So we're going to English Color and Supply. And we also need to stop and pick up one of the finest paint guns money can buy. Right here. So we've got our spray gun here. This is the second finest spray gun Harbor Freight offers. I do already have a gun that I've used before on cars, but it's not the best. This one, even though it's from Harbor Freight, I think it's gonna be a little bit better. This is the 1.3 millimeter tip, so this is for paint, not primer, because I already have the primer gun, and the primer gun actually works pretty well. So we'll be using this today. And this is what the folks over at the paint store hooked us up with. We have the actual paint itself. It's a PPG paint, so it should be good quality. We have got a primer, which actually has me slightly concerned. It says direct to metal primer. Told the guy I was painting ABS plastic, he's like, this is what you want. So that's what we're gonna go with. I've read different people have different opinions on the internet. Some people say just use an adhesion promoter and then spray the paint right on. Other people say you need a primer. I'm just gonna go with what the guy at the paint store said and hope for the best. So we'll be using that primer today. And then we've got some clear here too. Deltron, never used it before. I think it's pretty good. This guy said it's good, we'll see. So as you can see, since this has been sitting for a while, we got dust all over it. We're going to go ahead and wash all of our parts down just with soap and water, and then we're gonna start scuffing them up with some sandpaper. We'll use some 600 grit, I think, to scuff all this stuff up, and then we'll get to painting. All right, so we've got everything pretty much ready to go. We cleaned, sanded, cleaned again, and I think we're just about ready. So the side skirts, the spoiler, the front lip, the bottoms of those don't have to be painted because you're never gonna see them, so I didn't bother to scuff those up, and we're just gonna spray them just like this. These little spoiler pieces that go on the edges of the spoiler, you're gonna see both sides of those, and these do not wanna sit down flat and stay up, so they're hung up. We'll be spraying those mid-air. And then these little pieces that go on the bottom of the rear bumper, there's no way they were gonna stand up on their own. The spray gun would just knock them right over. So we screwed these to this board and we will spray them like that. So we'll hit everything with grease and wax remover before we get going. We got our gun over here ready to go. We've got our primer. It's a 4-to-1 ratio on this primer of primer to activator. So we'll mix that up. Throw it in the gun. They recommend 1 to 3 coats of primer, and you have 10 to 20 minutes between each coat to dry. So we'll probably do 2 coats, see how it looks, and then once you're done with your primer, you have 30 minutes to 24 hours to do your top coat. So we're in Texas and it's hot, so we'll probably wait like 1 hour, maybe 2, see how it's looking, and go from there. So I'm gonna wet down the floor so I don't kick up any dust, and wish me luck. Don't know if you can see it, but we got some runs. So we're gonna break out a little 400 grit wet sandpaper and sand them out. You help in? Well, we did that. Let's let it dry up and see how it turned out later. All right, so it's the next day. The paint has dried overnight, but before we take a look at it, let me kind of explain what happened. So this primer right here that we use, that you can no longer read what it is, the direct to metal high build primer. So it adhered really well. The problem I was having though, I was getting a lot of orange peel, and I found out about halfway through that if you put it on really thick, it lays down really nice. But I did have to stop and do a little bit of sanding, get off some of the, I would say, excessive orange peel, so I had a good, nice base for the color coat. Which leads us to the color here, which I guess I had it in my head that I had to spray the primer thick, so I was like, I guess I'm gonna put on the color thick too, and that was the wrong thing to do. So I started getting some runs in the color, had to stop doing that, sand out the runs, and then I discovered about halfway through that color needs to go on really light, so I dialed down the paint. After that, it went on really well. So we already had a fair amount of orange peel from the primer. The color kind of exacerbated that, and I was really worried that the clear was gonna come out terrible and really orange peely, but this stuff right here, Deltron DC 3000, give it to your kids for breakfast in the morning before they go to school. They'll come home with straight A's guaranteed. This stuff went on so good, it laid down so flat. Let's go take a look. There you have it. So there's still a little bit of orange peel on these, but it's nowhere near as bad as I thought it was gonna be. I'll probably do like a little bit of light buffing just to get out, dust nibs and stuff like that. But apart from that, I think these are good to go on the car. So I'm gonna actually let those dry up for a few days. That's what the instructions recommend. And then we're gonna get into putting them on the car. So for the front grille, I believe the front bumper has to come off. For the back tail lights and maybe those little diffuser things on the rear bumper, I think the back bumper has to come off. Side skirt's easy enough to just screw on, but we'll be taking some stuff apart here in a minute. So there you have it. The Corvette is done. It is assembled. It is looking good, I would say. But as usual, things turned out a little bit differently than how I thought they would. So I said I wasn't going to do any cutting and buffing, and for the uninitiated, that's sanding and buffing. I did actually wind up sanding on the spoiler here. So these parts that were hanging from the ceiling and then like this angled part of the spoiler itself, I don't think those got as much help from gravity as the side skirts and the front lip did. The clear coat settled down pretty well. The more I looked at the spoiler, the more orange peel I saw, so I did wind up sanding that and then buffing it out, and I think it came out pretty darn good. Taillights, I think those are looking good. Those are easy to just swap out. I mean, we did have to take the whole rear bumper off, but to do the spoiler and the holes for that, we're gonna have to do it anyways. The diffuser fins, I think you can do with this bumper on the car. You may just like peel it off a little bit, but it was easier just to do with the whole bumper off the car. The rear diffuser fins here, they're supposed to come with a template that shows you where to drill the holes to install them. Mine did not come with that template, so I just kind of put them where I thought they should go, drilled some holes, and if you don't look too closely, you won't notice that one of them is just a little bit crooked, but just don't look closely, it's fine. One thing I have noticed right away is whenever you're getting into the car, this little lip sticking out right here, it does catch the heel a little bit, so you got to be a little careful of that. Also, the front lip here, if I go a little bit too fast out of my driveway, I do scrape it just a little bit, but no, it's okay. It's on the bottom. No one will see it. The back window is now completely useless. It was small before, and now we have the spoiler sticking up a little bit. The center part is translucent, but you really, between that and the tint, you can't see much anyway, so just forget about your back window. Color turned out great. We have the exact same sparkle over here that we do on these other pieces. But to be honest, if you just wanted to do these gloss black, I think they probably look just fine. Like the wheels here, those are gloss black. I'm not sure anybody's really gonna notice. And the Corvette is now completely colorless. So we blacked out the emblems, we blacked out the lenses here for the reflectors. Now the lights, all the color in those are gone. There is not a single bit of color left on this car, except for total tag right here. We're gonna have to find some way to fix that. So that brings us to the money part. Did we save any money by painting all these ourselves? Good news, the answer is yes. So all these parts today came from a place called Corvette Mods. You can get the rear diffuser fins for about $100, the front lip, the side skirts, and the rear spoiler all together for about $800. That brings us to a total of $900. If we had bought all of those painted, it would have been $300 for the diffuser fins, $600 for the front lip, $500 for the side skirts, and $400 for the rear spoiler, for a total of $1,800. That's twice as much as buying the unpainted parts. But you have to remember, we spent money on paint. So the guy at the paint store was like, do you want the good stuff or the economy stuff? I said the good stuff, so it came out a little more expensive. I also had to buy a quart of clear and a quart of primer, so it's probably a little bit more than it should have been, but $350 on all the paint supplies. If you had the paint gun in too, which I typically don't because I'm going to use that on other projects, I don't really call it a cost of these, but anyways, $150 for the paint gun. All together, all in on the parts, the paint, everything, $1,400. So we still saved $400 by painting and installing these ourselves. Actually, installation, if you were to have a shop install these, probably looking at even more. So it just raises the question of, is my time for painting these worth $400? You know what, I'm pretty cheap. My time doesn't cost much. I think we still save some money. So if you like to paint your own parts in your garage and save some money, don't forget about that like button and the subscribe button. And until next time, I guess I'm just gonna take the $400 I saved and probably spend it on tires. So I had this idea that by wetting down the floor, that meant that none of the overspray would stick to the floor and I didn't need to put down a drop cloth of any sort. Kind of looks like that's not the case. But on the plus side, we used an epoxy primer. There's a lot of people out there who pay a lot of money to get the garage floors coated in epoxy. This might be a win.